Hello beautiful bibliophiles, it's Victoria. It's also the middle of the year, which means it's time for my favorite book tag here on BookTube, the mid-year book Freakout tag. Not that I've done this before on BookTube, I just love seeing it and I just think it's so good. I think it's the best book tag because you can do it every year if you want to, and the questions are just so many and so great. They leave so much space for you to evaluate your reading year so far. I just absolutely love it. My reading year so far is going great, much better than I thought it would. My goal, one book more than halfway through. On Goodreads, I've pledged 80 books to read in 2021, and I've read 41 of them already, and summer break ain't even here yet, so okay, I'm doing really great. No one's gonna stop me. I'm definitely gonna reach that goal, and I think I'm gonna surpass it. So according to Goodreads, at the time of filming this, I am 6 books ahead of schedule, which is really good. And I'm so excited because I have a lot more books that I want to get to. And I've uploaded a video for you to check them out if you want to. I don't know why I'm pointing. Maybe because I remember to put the video up here, but I know I won't. So check it out in the description instead. It's my TBR for my Hot Girl Summer. But with no further ado, let's get to the mid-year book Freakout tag questions so we can look back on the first half of this reading year. I'm so excited. First question starts off strong with favorite book you've read so far this year, and that has to be 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I absolutely love this book. I feel like it's the best book I've read in the sense that it's the one that has impressed me the most writing-wise and has affected me more emotionally. So this follows a family in this imaginary town called Macado in Colombia for like 5 generations. So yeah, it's confusing because you follow so many characters and all of their names are either Aureliano or Jose Arcadio, so you gotta get notes because they're all the same names. But it's absolutely stunning. The way Marquez built his characters is amazing. You follow them throughout their lives, so you get such a good sense of their character and what they're doing. I get that there are some problematic aspects that I didn't like about this actually. Like there's a lot of normativity in it, and some like sex references no one really asked for, to be honest, but it's stunning. Apart from that, the writing is absolutely gorgeous. I've underlined so many things in it because it was gorgeous to read writing-wise. Such a smart, just magical realism plot. You should know that this is very hazy kind of to read because it is magical realism and not a lot of things make sense, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Marquez even ties up with the fictional story a lot of historical events from the history of Colombia, and I thought it was absolutely stunning. And I might as well just reread it again this summer, even though I just read it in March, because that's how much the writing impressed me. Skipping question number 2 because it says favorite sequel you've read this year, and I've yet to read a sequel this year, so no answer for that. Question number 3 is a new release you want to read but haven't gotten around to it yet, but you want to read it. The only 2021 release that I know is on my TBR and I'm gonna get to, like I may get to more from Annette Gully, but I haven't requested any for the summer. I will do that, by the way. Nice reminder. The only one so far is Yesterday's History, which came out in February, and it is about a young man who receives a liver transplant, and when he wakes up from surgery he has time traveling abilities. That sounds weird, and I love anything that has to do with time traveling or time paradoxes in all sorts of media, so I'm super excited. And even though I have put myself in a book bang because my physical TBR is bigger than ever, if I somehow get around to get a hold of Kazuo Ishiguro's new book, Clara and the Sun, that sounds interesting, and also Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid sounds interesting. Maybe like I'll find them in my library or something. Doubt so. Will I eventually break my book bind ban and buy them? Maybe. Hopefully not, but maybe, because I'm very excited for these two. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I did make a video recently about my most anticipated releases of summer 2021. And out of those, I'd pick Trouble Girls by Julia Lynn Byrne, if I'm not mistaken, which is an LGBTQ plus story that's kind of like Thelma and Louise, but also the end of the effing world vibes, because it's these two girls that go on a road trip. Maybe they're actually running away from home. I don't remember exactly. But the point is, I think they accidentally like kill someone halfway through, and now they're being like wanted, and they're trying to hide. Sounds very exciting. And also, the other one I'm quite excited for is this Greek myth retelling, Daughter of Sparta. Question number 5 is biggest disappointment of the year, and I do have a lot of answers for this, because a lot of books I was excited about and they weren't as good as I expected. And I think I've given the lowest ratings I've ever given to books in a year so far in 2021. But the one that hits harder out of those disappointments has to be The Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. It's the third book I read this year, and the third book I read for Winter Wing, horror readathon hosted in January, by Olivia Rizzolatti and Gabby Reeds, of course. I read some other okay books in that readathon, but got this one. This one is the only 1 star I gave so far in 2021. Hope I won't have to give another 1 star this year. And I think the second 1 star I've ever given in my life, because, oh my gosh, this disappointed me so much. This is a horror novella about this mannequin that comes to life, and it kind of terrorizes people, right? So bad. So bad, in my opinion. Writing, didn't like the writing. But the plot was so outraging. Our protagonist was so incredibly stupid, and he kept making all the wrong decisions, but not in the cool, oh, guy in thriller makes all the wrong decisions things. Like, actually stupid decisions, like, made no sense. Cruel decisions that made no sense, that didn't have to happen. I don't know who in their right minds, like, comes face to face with a mannequin and has to go through the things the characters in this book have to go through, and things like that, and does the things this protagonist did in this book. It angered me, it outraged me, it annoyed me reading about this character and what he was doing. I almost DNF'd it, and it was only 90 pages, like, but I did read all of it, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I do want to read a lot of other books by Stephen Graham Jones. He does have a new release this year, actually. And he's also written The Only Good Indians, which I'm very excited to read. But The Night of the Mannequins, like, really didn't do it for me. Really didn't like it. Coming in at number 6, biggest surprise. That's a book I really want to talk about, and I haven't talked about it in a wrap-up yet, so let's talk about it here. Matthew Lee Goldberg is the name of the author, I believe, and the book is called Runaway Train. This is a quite unpopular YA release of this year that I found out through NetGalley, and I requested it and received it. The most surprising part about this book was not my rating or how I felt about it, was just that I found such a book. Because let me tell you what this book is about. And let me explain to you why the targeted audience of this book is me. Just me. Okay, obviously other people with the similar interest that I'm going to explain to you, but me. I was so lucky to find this book. This is about this 16-year-old girl. Her sister has recently died, and she's going through other hardships at home, and she's really into Nirvana and the punk rock scene of the 90s. This is set in 1994. So, late March 1994, this is important, the months are important. She runs away from home and sets on this road trip with this to-do list to feel better. And that to-do list includes her meeting Kurt Cobain. She wants to go to Seattle, Kurt Cobain's house, knock on the door, and meet Kurt Cobain. Who would do that? Who in the right minds would do that? Me. I would do that. No, I wouldn't know Kurt Cobain ever, but if I was there. But how me is that book? How me is that book? And anyways, as you can tell, if you know anything about Kurt Cobain died early April 1994. She sets out on this road trip late March, so it's not a spoiler that Kurt Cobain dies in this book. I mean, he's not a character in the book, we don't see him die, but we see the characters learning of his death the day his body was found, and attending a memorial. The memorial, particularly the one Courtney Love made a speech on, and it's set during this atmosphere. Like before that, we get the punk rock 90s scene, the grunge 90s scene, which is my favorite music scene, and seeing it in a book was so important and just so cool for me. I absolutely love that part of it. And mentioning Kurt Cobain, I have this like tiny poster of Kurt Cobain like right here on my desk, and I'm looking at it while talking about him, which feels surreal. So yes, I absolutely love Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, and seeing them mentioned and just being the setting practically of this book was great, even though I didn't enjoy the story part, the YA contemporary part of this book. I didn't care about the protagonist, I disliked her quite a bit, and the story felt quite lacking depth, and just it didn't interest me at all. But the setting was absolutely amazing. Absolutely me. I really wanted to read something like that. I cried my eyes out the parts where Kurt Cobain died, and they were like going to the memorial and stuff. This was so me. It had songs that I absolutely adored, mentioned throughout, and it's a book that if you don't know about the punk rock and grunge scene of the 90s, and if you aren't a fan of Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, you have no interest in. Like it means nothing to you if you don't have that specific interest. So me finding this book when that's my favorite music scene and my favorite band and musician was amazing for me. So I was surprised to find it at first place and to see it described so well in the book as a setting. So I'm constantly looking at the Kurt Cobain poster, I'm sorry. But yeah, that was the surprising part about it that I absolutely adored. I believe we're at number 7, but I'm gonna stop counting. Favorite new author, either debut or new to you. I have 2 new to me authors for this. One poet, which is Guillaume Apollinaire. I read a random selection of his poetry this year and absolutely loved his poetry. Didn't expect to love it that much, but I want to read more poems of his because I absolutely adored it. And for a new author, I have John Hay to say. She wrote The Ones We're Meant to Find, which was my most anticipated release of the year that I got to through NetGalley. Thank you, NetGalley. And I absolutely love that book. I really liked her writing, especially her description of nature, and like some really nice quotes she had in the book. And I'm really excited to read Descendant of the Crane this summer through listening to it on audiobook. So those are my 2 new favorite authors, I'd say. The newest fictional crush, I believe I'm too old to get fictional crushes at this point. At least for books, that's not what I look for in books right now. But for newest character, favorite character, I do have quite a strong answer. I have C from The Ones We're Meant to Find. We have 2 sisters, C, which stands for Celia, and K, which stands for Casey. And I love Celia because since this book is set after the climate crisis, but just a bit harder than it is now, we have this more technological way of life, very far from nature, since, well, we killed the nature. And Casey is really into it, but Celia believes we should just be closer to nature and just try to restore nature instead of trying to live through the climate crisis effects in a technological way, like just to survive. And she makes so many thoughts about the planet and Earth and nature, and just whenever the technological way to treat climate crisis comes up in conversations, I feel like I'm like Celia, and I really enjoyed seeing her character in that sense because I related to her. There are people who are like, okay, so the bees will die and we'll make electronic bees and we'll just make a more technological way of life, and I'm always like, no, we have to preserve the earth the way it is. So yeah, I related to Celia a lot. Of course, yes, I do want to survive, and I do accept that there are more technological ways to do it. I'm not some boomer that denies technology. I recognize that it's super helpful and important in our lives, but the way Celia talked about the environment and nature, I just related to that a lot, and I love how passionate her character was about being close to nature. Book that made me cry, I already told you I cried my eyes out at the memorial, Kurt Cobain's memorial scene in Runaway Train, so that is my answer. And for a book that made me happy, I'm gonna go with George by Alex Gino. This is a middle grade about Melissa. She is a young trans girl, so people see her as a boy and refer to her as a boy, but she is a girl, and she wants people to accept that she is a girl. So goes through a lot of hardships, obviously. This book is very heartbreaking. It's hard for her mother and like her school. She wants to play Charlotte, like the spider, at the school's play, and people are like, no, Charlotte's a girl. It's a spider. It's a freaking spider. But yeah, people are just so focused on gender norms and gender roles and don't accept the fact that Melissa is a girl. Very heartbreaking to see that, but things do get better for her and she does get happier. That's not a spoiler. That is a ray of sunshine, and I really like seeing the trans representation in a middle grade book, and just seeing Melissa's journey made me like feel sad when she was sad, but so happy when she was happy, and when she was achieving the recognition she wanted to achieve. I was so happy for her. Most beautiful book you've received or bought this year. A couple of weeks ago I bought Find Me by Andrea Ashman. This is the sequel to Call Me By Your Name. I haven't read it yet and I'm very reluctant to. I will, but I'm scared to because I know it won't live up to Call Me By Your Name, which is one of my favorite books of all time. But for this question, let's just focus on the cover. Let's just focus on the Italian landscape, the view from an Italian street, and the back is also the pots. So cool. Anyways, I absolutely love this cover. Absolutely love it. Skipping the question that says favorite book to movie adaptations, because I have read 41 books and I have watched 64 movies so far in 2021, but none of them were related to one another, so I'm gonna skip that question. So the last question for today will be books you want to read till the end of the year. I've made a huge TBR in the Hot Girl Summer TBR video I mentioned, so you could check that out if you want to get a taste of what I'll be reading this summer and for the rest of the year, to be honest. But top 5 books I want to get to till the end of the year are God of Small Things, Life of Pi, David Hume's Franklin Love, Abigail King Wen's Love Boat Taipei, and Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I'm very excited to get through these 5 books. That was my mid-year book Freakout tag. I enjoyed this so much fun for me. I'm very glad I finally got to do this on BookTube instead of posting about that on Bookstagram or just thinking about the questions alone. It was so fun to do it here with you guys on BookTube, and thank you so much for watching. Just thank you so much, and I hope you're having a great day or night if you're watching this at night, and I'll see you soon with another bookish video. So thank you so much again, and I'll see you soon. Bye.